morning, good afternoon, good evening. Ian Douglas Smith, the former Prime Minister of Rhodesia, once said that if blacks are to rule themselves, people in towns will walk on sewage until they believe it's normal. This is one of the quotations that has been referred to again and again, and made the blood of many blacks boil because they considered it as the apex of the white racist supremacist remarks. And yet sometimes one has got to accept that maybe it's one's distractors who one should pay attention to, because they will be telling you the truth that you don't want to hear, but you must hear. If the truth be said, we have done even worse than that. Because we've now been independent for the last 45 years, and yet we have failed to hold free, fair, and credible elections in 45 years of independence in this day and age. How is that possible? Indeed, the last 15 years, we've even been trying to win rigged elections and still think that is normal. This is a serious problem and one we must face and deal with. Ben, welcome to the program.
Good day to you and good day to our viewers. Thank you for joining us. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but at the same time, it is what we are living. We had train, a rail system that was on time every time. That has since been the past. And every time when we have failed, we seem to adapt. You know, we it, they say, if you stay for so long in the toilet, or your nose adapts to the stench. And I think Zimbabwe is at that stage. We have stayed so long in the toilet and in the gutters. We have adapted to the stench. It doesn't bother us anymore. A broken train system, we have replaced it with what they call mushikashika. You know, cars just picking up and dropping off people. Licensed, or it's just do as you please and as you like. And you were talking about sewage. Sewage can flow right through your door. You will dig a small little trench so that at least it flows through. It doesn't just stay. You know, we kept on adapting to it. Hospitals with no medicine. We have since seen so many pharmacies spring up all around hospitals. Instead of getting the service in the hospital, you can simply just walk into the pharmacy around the hospital. This is who we are. we have been in the toilet and in the gutter for so long that we have adapted to the stage. And it is very sad, but we have to admit Ian Smith was right.
Well, we referred to the problem of failure to hold free, fair, and credible elections. Many people admit that as much as we had hoped to get ZANU-PF to hold free, fair, and credible elections, that is just a bridge too far. That has never happened. By the late 1990s, the people of Zimbabwe realized that ZANU-PF will never hold free, fair, and credible elections. So we needed to move on. What else can we do? Well, we had two options. We could either go back and wage another war of liberation to fight the ZANU-PF dictatorship, or we could elect opposition leaders who will implement the democratic reforms necessary to end the ZANU-PF dictatorship. We knew that electing the opposition would infuriate ZANU-PF, but we were prepared to end the wrath of ZANU-PF to do that. And so, since 1999, the people of Zimbabwe have reached all to elect MDC CCC leaders, whose number one task was to implement the democratic reforms necessary to stop ZANU-PF rigging the elections. That must be made abundantly clear. The purpose of the MDC was to implement the democratic reforms to stop ZANU-PF rigging the elections. That was why the party itself called it the Movement for Democratic Change. And yet, 25 years down the line, ZANU-PF is still able to rig the elections, blatantly rig the elections, because MDC guys have not implemented even one token reform. And worse than that, the MDC leaders themselves have been conning people to participate in these flawed elections, telling them that they've implemented democratic changes to stop ZANU-PF rigging the elections. It's of course nonsense, but that's where we are. But the way forward, as I said, we keep referring back to this original statement we put in. We have done worse than Ian Smith predicted. We've now clocked 45 years of rigged elections. In the last 15 years, we've been trying to win rigged elections because we believed the opposition. And you think that after 2023, with all the publicity that has gone around it and how the opposition lied to the people of Zimbabwe will now finally be slowly waking up to that reality. Unfortunately, that is not so. Because although Chamisa, at the end of the 2023 elections, he resigned from the party, claiming that ZANU-PF had hijacked his CCC party and abandoned everything. He has since come back, and in this particular instance, has been telling the people that he's coming back as if nothing had happened. The whole story of him lying to the people, calling them to participate in flawed elections, that is explained to the people themselves over and over again, is as if it has never happened. Here is a latest video of him meeting people in Bari, and everything is forgotten and forgiven. Well, like it or not, the truth of the matter is one has to ask, has these people learned anything at all from the past? Do they understand what happened in 2023? Do they understand that Chamisa lied to them and conned them to participate in the flawed elections to perpetuate the dictatorship? Because if they don't understand, this is exactly what Ian Smith was talking about. You're walking on sewage and think it normal. We have failed to hold free, fair, and credible elections, and we think it's normal. This is at the heart of our problem. So the question is going to be asked, have these people understood what happened in 2023? Benjamin.
What is normal is after a certain period, a country, should be able to hold democratic elections, free, fair, and credible elections. But then in Zimbabwe, like I was saying, it is somebody's nose adapting to the stench that is within the toilet because they've stayed in that toilet for too long. Like what Smith is saying, we have normalized the abnormal. We have gone, to a situation where a certain, chunk of the population, you know, believe that, change comes through, you know, removing one dictator for the other. You know, people were happy when Mnangagwa replaced Mugabe. And they are so eager again to replace Mnangagwa with Chiwenga. That has become their normal. They've given up on their rights to free and fair elections. Then the bigger chunk now, nearly 2 million, believe Chamisa is the best foot forward. Without him, there is no other. He is a savior. He is a messiah that has come to save Zimbabweans. Despite him standing in front of them congratulating the people of Zimbabwe to say, you've done it. You've won the 2023 elections. God is in it. God has made it possible already. I'm already, inaugurated, and so forth and so forth. Manipulating the people, preying on people's, desires. That is what it is. And then, to answer the question, I mean, I just gave you two of the most abnormal situations where the right thing would have been demanding for free, fair, and credible elections, like what are happening in most successful countries around the world. Because in the absence of democracy, we are seeing states fall by the wayside. I mean, most of the states that are doing badly have failed to hold free, fair, and credible elections. Because once you have free, fair, and credible elections, you have a government that is for the people and by the people. And this government then becomes accountable to the people because the people will demand more of them. And if you do not deliver on your promises, you will soon see the door. That is normal. That is democracy. Not where we look forward to a coup. That is not normal. That is not how it's supposed to be. Where we participate in rigged elections, no matter how flawed it is, it becomes, sad and pathetic that, as Zimbabweans, we have now normalized the abnormal. Sewage flowing through, like what Smith said, is the new normal. We will create paths around it so that we can let it flow freely. In as much as it hurts, and it hurt when he spoke these words, ladies and gentlemen, we are living those words, and we cannot deny we are a failed state. Thank you.
Just like to conclude my remarks by referring to Malcolm X. I think Malcolm X is one of those few American blacks who many people have come to respect because of his clear understanding of the problems. And in this particular case, he's talking about you cannot be blind, so blind with patriotism that you can't see reality. Wrong is wrong. And I think this is at the heart of our problem in Zimbabwe. We have failed to see the reality that the opposition is supposed to be our tool to fight for free, fair, and credible elections. And that tool has failed us. And to somehow continue pretending that there's nothing wrong with the opposition is what got us into this mess. We are not going to end ZANU-PF dictatorship with an opposition that, first of all, failed to implement the reforms. And when they realize they failed to implement the reforms, have since come back telling us that we can win rigged elections because we have devised ways of winning rigged elections. and time again lie to us about what they've been doing to stop ZANU-PF rigging the elections. And we've believed in them, and we've participated in flawed elections only to perpetuate the dictatorship. What I'm saying to you now is, as long as the opposition is able to corner us to participate in flawed elections, they will do so. And that will perpetuate ZANU-PF. ZANU-PF is very happy with what Chamisa and company are doing, warning us to believe we can win rigged elections. We are not going to win rigged elections. It is idiotic to keep believing we can win rigged elections, because this is playing to ZANU-PF's own political agenda. And we really have to wake up to that reality. If we are going to break this mold, we need to elect competent opposition who will implement the reforms. The fight is with electing competent opposition. This message must be repeated, because if we participate in our millions come 2028, we will only be perpetuating the dictatorship. Think about it. Thank you very much. Have a good day.